Plami, and in this episode of Plami's Thoughts On, I'm gonna be sharing my thoughts on the second episode of the 11th season of one of my favorite shows ever, The Walking Dead. And I gotta say, this is what I'm fucking talking about when it comes to the quality of these final season's episodes. Because if you guys didn't watch my review of the first episode, well, I enjoyed a huge part of that first episode. Overall, I wasn't really left quite satisfied, or at least as much as satisfied as I wanted to be after watching that episode. But after this second episode, I'm full on. I'm 100% into it. It was so entertaining. Like, this is what I've wanted this whole season to be. And sadly, I'm recording this after having watched the third episode as well. Don't worry, I'm not gonna spoil anything about the third episode, except maybe the quality of it, but I'd still suggest you watch it for yourself, because I mean, I'm gonna talk more about it in its own review, but sadly, it seems that this season is not gonna be like an exceptionally good season, like season 9 or season 4, where every single episode is like one of the best ever, or is like super enjoyable. It seems like it's gonna be more along the lines, I guess, of season 10. Because not some episodes are gonna be good, some episodes, I guess, not gonna hit as hard. I don't know. But one thing's for sure that I can say is that I feel like, at least as a whole experience, this first two-parter works. Although even if you consider how much I actually enjoyed this second episode, I still ultimately would have preferred to have this be just one episode, because I feel like there wasn't quite enough content in these two episodes to justify them being two episodes. It feels more like an extended one extended episode. Like, maybe it should have been like a 55 or 60-minute long episode, but it should have been one, because the first episode, I mean, the coolest moments in that first episode are pretty much the opening scene, which is like really good, and all the Maggie and Negan interactions. Frankly, I didn't care too much about the Commonwealth stuff, so I can take it or leave it, really. But the things that really hit hard in that first episode were just the opening scene and the interactions between Maggie and Negan. The rest is kind of boring, and that ultimately is like, I don't know what, maybe 15 minutes, or let's be generous to say 20 minutes of that episode was actually stuff that were worth it to exist in that episode. If you take those 20 minutes from that first episode and take the minutes from this episode that were really entertaining, which I think I would put it probably around 30 or 35 minutes, because there were certainly certain things that, at least on first watch, I didn't quite enjoy, and I was really bothered as they were being shown on the screen at the time, and I'm gonna get into which things those are specifically in a little bit. But if you take the 35 minutes of this episode that were really, really entertaining, you have one really good episode that is about 55 minutes. So I honestly would have preferred if they did that, because that not only would have left more episodes to have cool shit happen down the line in this season, but it just would have made this final season be more impactful, because it's just more impactful when every single episode is like mind-blowingly good. And I feel like because it's the final season, and it seems like a lot of people have actually gone back to watching the show live, because the Reddit threads are getting a lot of comments, like so much more than anything we got in season 10 or 9, frankly. I feel like a lot of people at this point are a little overrating this season, because I think it's been enjoyable, and maybe I'm just not really appreciating it because it's a week-to-week thing, because I still think it's really good and it's better than season 7 and 8. It's definitely more entertaining, but for some reason I just really don't feel as invested into it sometimes. I guess that's more of a thing that I want to discuss in my review for the third episode, because that's more in relation to that episode, but I guess I just wanted to mention it. But yeah, I guess we should just get into this episode, because there's so much to talk about the things that I liked about this episode. There's been actually quite a few callbacks that I haven't really mentioned, because it hasn't been as obvious or as fun, I would say. with the callbacks this season as it was with Fear the Walking Dead last season, because I mean, I don't know, with Fear the Walking Dead, I guess maybe it was just because I was just searching for anything to enjoy about the episodes, so when I saw so many callbacks and references and stuff, I just really got entertained by them, while now in season 11 of The Walking Dead, it feels a tad little bit like a crutch that they're using to say, like, hey, this is the last season, it's cool, we're actually acknowledging shit that happened before, you know? That's kind of more how it feels, although there's certainly things that are actual fun callbacks, like the opening scene of this episode in which Maggie falls from the train after Negan decides not to help her. And the way they kind of portray that whole sequence is very reminiscent of the time that Glenn had to go under the dumpster, because in this case Maggie has to escape walkers that are literally on top of her by going under the train. That's, I'd say, a smart and fun reference and a callback. But there have been some, especially in episode 3, there's one that I feel like was just kind of lazy. It didn't do anything, you know? But yeah, pretty cool opening as well, showing us a different perspective of that moment where she falls off the train. Then we have the characters enter the train inside, and everybody asks where the hell is Maggie, and Negan says that she was right behind him. It bothers me a little bit why they just straight up believe him. At least the people who are from Maggie's group, why would they fucking trust him? Like, throughout the whole mission until this point, they've been bullying him and being petty assholes. And they very much dislike Negan because they haven't been with him, they haven't seen him neither do the bad things, they've only heard about the bad things he's done, nor have they seen the good things he's done. So, why are they not more questioning of him? Kinda bothers me. But I guess they kind of are focused on the mission, so they just move on forward. Although, as some people have pointed out, why the hell did they not hear the gunshots that Maggie shoots when she falls off the train? Because that's something they should have definitely heard and maybe turned around and went to help her. And as much as they want to blame Negan for not helping her, they weren't really tight with their hands behind their back. They could have helped as well. There was no reason why they couldn't help. Like, they were safe on top of the train. They could have easily went back and made sure that Maggie was fine and helped her, you know? But yeah, it was pretty cool how she ended up climbing under the train, and then she got to the same car that they were in, and she climbed back in. It's a little questionable, the fact that she didn't kill Negan at the moment that she got back inside the train. Although they kind of make the scene work in a way where it's kind of justified when you think about it, but it is a little bit taking you out of the moment in a way that she doesn't just straight up shoot him at that moment. Although, again, it could be because at this point Maggie is kind of going on a dark route and maybe has a certain understanding of Negan and why he did what he did, because in the following scene he does point out that she literally just said that she was ready to kill him anytime and sooner rather than later. And he's the big old asshole for not risking his life to save her. So he's not completely in the wrong. Like, he probably should have helped her if he truly really wanted to be redeemed, but I also, on the other side of things, don't think that just because you did something bad to somebody, you have to kiss their ass just to be redeemed. And I'd say, considering the way Maggie has been treating him, which she has the complete right to treat him like that, because after all, he killed her husband. If you truly want somebody to be redeemed, or not be, how to say it, like, if you truly want to allow people to be redeemed, then you cannot be antagonistic to them, because that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, if you are assholes to Negan, then even if he's trying to redeem himself, why would he even try to be friendly to you? And actually Negan has been more than friendly to them, but they still treat him like an asshole. And again, it's not unjustified on their side as well, but it's just petty and unnecessary, I feel like. Because, like, even Daryl, he's not his buddy or anything, but he still is not a petty asshole to Negan and only attacks him or calls him out when he's in the wrong, you know? But yeah, in that whole sequence, as I said, it's a little far-fetched that Maggie doesn't just straight up kill him. It feels like he has his plot armor on, because we can't kill Negan right now, so of course we won't. But in that scene, suddenly Gage comes out of nowhere, and I just gotta say, it was very fucking confusing about which direction the train was in which. I think it would have been beneficial if they stuck with shooting the train only from one side, because I kept confusing, and I'm still not even sure from which direction the characters came and in which direction they were going, you know? Because if you remember, in the last episode, they climbed onto the train and they were going in the direction that the train was in, if I'm correct, right? So they climbed inside the train, and then they got inside and kept walking, and then now they are at the door at which Gage is at, the teenager who bullied Lydia and who got Henry in trouble all the way back in season 9. But it was very confusing because I was under the impression that Gage was in the direction that they were going, but if I understand this correctly, Gage was actually coming from the direction of where the beginning of the train was, where they climbed onto the train. And it's kind of confusing how the hell did he manage to get inside, but the Sasquatch guy, Duncan, didn't manage to open the door and get inside. It's a little far-fetched, but you know what? Stuff like this personally doesn't really bother me. It's just, at this point, I'm recording this video much later than I usually do, so I've been kind of tainted with certain opinions that I've read on Reddit or that I've seen in video reviews. So it's usually not something that I would even mention, but it's just a thing that I guess read and I wanted to say. And we actually have a very interesting sequence here, and I actually couldn't believe my eyes as I was watching that episode, because I'd never thought that Maggie would do something like this. And it was like the guys that we've been following, the good guys, like even in the darkest times, they've always stuck for each other. Like even in the times where they've had some enemies inside the group that they've hated or disliked, like there've been two people who have disliked each other, our group has never really left people behind. They've always helped each other. And yet Maggie leaves Gage to die? Like, how are we not supposed to hate Maggie for that? And when I'm saying hate Maggie, I don't mean hate the character. I think they're writing Maggie in a very interesting way right now, although it is a very annoying way as well, but I like it. I'm enjoying what they're doing with her. Nor am I talking about hating Lauren Cohan, because she's portraying Maggie in a great way, but I'm hating the person that Maggie's character is. This cold and selfish and self-righteous person. Because she hated on Negan for leaving her behind. But now she's gonna leave Gage behind? How is that not hypocrisy? It literally is, in my opinion, but that also kinda goes into also why she didn't outright kill Negan, at least in my opinion, because she literally did the exact same thing. She just left somebody behind that betrayed her, or that was a danger to her, or that pissed her off in some way. And I gotta say, Gage went out like a badass. I actually thought when he was holding the knives that maybe he was gonna stab himself in the eyes, and I kinda wish maybe they did that, because otherwise, like, why would you be holding the two knives if what you're going to do is stab yourself in the heart? I guess in a way it's kinda realistic, because he's not exactly sure, like, it's not like he has planned to kill himself for a while. He was just like, pull out his knives and think of how he's gonna kill himself. So the fear allowed him only to stab himself in the heart and not in the eyes, I guess. But it was still a pretty brutal and dark death, and especially considering that if it was anybody else, I mean, not anybody else, but if it was most other people, Maggie would have done everything to save them. If it was anybody from her Meridian gang, she would have done anything to save them. If it was Darrow, Gabriel, she would have done anything to save them. If it was her own child, she would have done anything to save him. And yes, you could say, of course she would do it if it was her own child, but like, our group has always been about equality, and all people are family, no matter what. Maggie seems to have changed, and the little story that she tells afterwards, I mean, it definitely doesn't make her me like her more. But before we get into that scene, I just want to point out a little fun fact that people pointed out to me, and I also pointed out to other people, that being the fact that the only people who tried to help Gage when he was stuck in the behind the door was Negan and Alden, the two ex-saviors. I guess they are true to their name. I mean, that's just a cool little detail. But yeah, I love how Alden was really adamant to save her. Like, at first it was Negan going to save Gage, trying to open the door. Then he called out on Duncan. Duncan didn't really go to help, if I remember correctly. Then Maggie started to boss people around, not allowing, saying that they can't save Gage or can't help him. And I love how after the last episode in which Alden kinda attacked Negan and defended Maggie, in a way, and even earlier in the episode, he defended Maggie. In this episode, he was kind of essentially siding with Negan because he said, to hell with you, to Maggie about helping Gage, because he wanted to help Gage. I don't know, that was just a really impactful moment to me, that he didn't blindly trust Maggie or listen to her. He had a voice of his own and tried to help him. And it was so fucking infuriating to see a bunch of Maggie's people prevent him from saving Gage. Like, who the fuck do you guys think you are? You came into our community, tried to boss people around, and left our people to die. Why don't you die? It just really pissed me off, especially because, like, I started to like Duncan a little bit, but the fact that he was like holding back Alden, it just really fucking pissed me off. And it made me hate Cole a lot, and one of the other guys as well. I think that his name is Frost, but I'm not sure which of the other characters is Frost, frankly. So there's that. But yeah, that whole sequence was really fucking good, and it made the episode for me, honestly. Editing going forward was kind of secondhand to me, but I really, really enjoyed that sequence. That's kind of what I was expecting to see this whole season. Like, see a death of a main character, or just a character, because Gage was not a main character or anything, but like, I just wanted to see either a really badass and cool death, like we saw with Gage, or the death of a main character, or a supporting character even, for each episode of the season. I think that's a big way to go out, because with a story like The Walking Dead, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do for the finale episode, and on what note are they going to leave it, but I don't know, I wouldn't really want necessarily a happy ending, or at least for most of the characters. I feel like with a story like The Walking Dead, it's more fun if it's a darker ending. I don't know, that's just me maybe. Now for the parts of the episode that I really, really didn't really enjoy. And I think it is ultimately because it's a first watch. I very much think that on a second watch, or maybe the more I rewatch it, I'm going to appreciate those scenes more and more. But frankly, I didn't really give two shits about the scenes with Darrow. And that's kind of starting to become a little bit of a recurring problem for me. And it's honestly mostly true about any of the somewhat OG characters. For one reason or another, I think it's ultimately due to the way they're writing them and the way they're doing their scenes and everything. But I'm just like not really interested because I know Darrow's not gonna die. He's probably not gonna even get hurt. So why should I give a shit? I think it's a very foolish decision to kind of split him off from the group, especially in such a contrived way. Like, why the fuck did Dog run somewhere? And also, why the fuck is Dog even there? Why would you risk Dog's life like that? Especially with what happens at the end of the episode and in the next episode. Like, why would you risk his life like this? So, yeah, I frankly didn't give two shits about the exploration that Darrow had in the rest of the episode. I've seen some people point out that the picture-y painting that he sees on the wall is basically a foreshadowing for the story of the Commonwealth, because it's essentially the Commonwealth story in a nutshell. So if you haven't read the comics or and you're curious about what the story with the Commonwealth is going to be, it's apparently basically that. And I like that. It's a nifty detail, but frankly it didn't really make for engaging television. I was just really pissed off when it was taking me away from the action in the train, or even the Commonwealth stuff, because those are also pretty fucking entertaining. But no, we had to get stuck with Darrow. I don't know. I feel like it's just at this point, Darrow as a character has been played out. I don't know. Like, he was very entertaining in season 9 because he had to be a reluctant helper and a reluctant leader, or whatever you want to call it. And even so in season 10 as well. But now that Maggie's back, it feels like she's the main character, especially with the story that they've crafted for her, and that Darrow is relegated again to that second right-hand man role in which he doesn't really talk much, you know? And that's just not really fun for me, and it feels like a downgrade of the character. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really sat down to really think about why I'm not really enjoying Darrow's character, and just scenes with Darrow, especially action scenes with Darrow, that much, but yeah, there's a lot of aspects to it. One thing that has definitely been pissing me off, and even has retroactively annoyed me about previous seasons, is how much the writers give Darrow cool shit to do, and thus not giving the other characters cool scenes. Like, we don't need to have all the cool kills and cool scenes to be given to Darrow. Why did it had to be Darrow the person who saves everybody on the train? Why? Why did he had to be the guy to go on his own, kill 2 walkers with a mace, kill a bunch of walkers with his crossbow, while everybody else was stuck in the train and barely allowed to kill walkers that we could see actually? Like, I don't know, like, you don't have to give every cool scene to fucking Darrow, because now, I mean, at this point we've seen Darrow do everything. I'm kind of bored of it. Give some cool kills to Alden, give some cool kills to Duncan. Like, he barely had like a little cool scene in which he killed a walker with his hammer in the last episode, but it's barely visible because it's in the dark in the tunnel right before they climb on the train. And like, small cool scenes like that just make you care for the character so much more that it's pissing me off, because I'm not gonna get more invested in Darrow than I already am. So stop fucking focusing on him with all the cool shit, because it makes me not really be able to enjoy the other characters because they don't get to do anything. But yeah, with the teaser for what's gonna happen in episode 4, I'm so not excited for that episode. I think that's probably gonna be my least favorite episode of the season so far. I'm much more excited, frankly, for episode 5. But yeah, it's safe to say I didn't really enjoy the dialogue scenes in this episode. But then we had the Commonwealth scenes, and I guess I also have to go back to the train because there are a few things that I forgot, but in a second. Or I guess let's leave the Commonwealth stuff for a little bit. Let's go back to the train. So we have Maggie telling her dark story of survival in the zombie apocalypse. And I'm a little confused about certain things, but I also... And I don't like certain things about that scene, but I also like certain things about it. And I guess first, let's start off with the things that I don't like about it. I don't like that it was a monologue. Because with this one, it makes for 3 monologues in this goddamn episode. It's like, I think the monologues overall are all fine, like they're all enjoyable and are entertaining enough where I don't lose, like I'm able to pay attention to them and I don't get bored of them. But having 3 monologues, I mean, that's just a little bit too much. I do think that this episode had a better, it was able to better divide the screen time amongst the characters because we had a couple of cool moments from Gabriel and Alden and everything. But still, having 3 monologues, I don't know, it just feels a bit too much. Even if they all worked, by and large, it just feels a little bit too much. Like, 1 is fine, 2 is pushing it, 3, I'd say, is a little bit too much. Like, we also had the Negan monologue in the last episode, but that was pretty much my favorite part of the episode, so I can't really complain. And as I said, 1 monologue is fine, but 3 is a little bit too much. And in this episode we have 1 monologue by Maggie, 1 monologue by Yumiko, and 1 monologue by Eugene. And frankly, only 1 of them is actually really entertaining. The other 2, 1 is kind of cringy on rewatch, and the other one, aka Maggie's, it just feels lazy. Because it's a cool story that she tells. Apparently, it's essentially the story of an episode of X-Files, which really makes me want to check out and watch X-Files, which I might do at some point. If you guys are interested in seeing reviews of the X-Files, because I'm probably not going to react to it, make sure to comment down below so I know that there's a demand for it. But I frankly feel like it would have been better if they actually showed us that scene instead of just telling us about it. It's like a simple show don't tell. I think it would be much more impactful and interesting if they show us the brutality of that scene. Maybe still have the voiceover, even though I'd personally rather not have it. But it could be just much more of a cool scene, because what do you think it's better? Telling somebody what happened or showing them, you know? I just feel like it's gonna be much more impactful if I see her try to almost get chloroformed by some old guy, and she then shoves the chloroform rag into his mouth, and she finds a corpse with a walker in her stomach, like a baby walker. Like, I feel like that would be something that Walking Dead season 1 to 5 would do. And I feel like that's would be something that Fear the Walking Dead would do, frankly, at this point, because they did kill a baby last season. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. But for some reason, I mean, it's for a very obvious reason when you think about it, but like, ever since the Glenn death, The Walking Dead just hasn't been the same in so many ways. And one of the big ways that really pisses me off is the hiding of the gore and the brutality. I don't get why. Like, World Beyond has more goddamn gore. Like, why? Why would World Beyond have more fucking gore? That's ridiculous. Why do they... Like, they even hide the zombie death. And that's the dumb thing. Like, there's... For some reason, they're always either almost off-screen or in the dark, so we barely get to actually fucking enjoy it. And I don't get fucking why. Was the backlash that fucking bad? And it's been like 5 fucking years. Get over it. Maybe 5-year-olds shouldn't watch this show if they get so scared they hide behind the sofa because their soccer moms are too lazy to take care of them. And like it felt like the gore was going back up in like season 9, but in season 10 they kind of downplayed it again. And it seems like it's even worse for actually no, I take that back. Season 10 proper actually was pretty fucking gory by and large. It's season 10C where the gore for some reason was really fucking downplayed. Especially in the Here's Negan episode, which is one of the reasons why that episode feels underwhelming to me, because it's a good episode. It's one of the best episodes. But the fact that we didn't get to see Negan bash that guy's head in, like Glenn's, it really kind of takes the wind out of my sails on that one. Because I'm like hating on that guy throughout the whole episode, and I'm hyped for him to kill him, and we don't even get to see it. Like, why? Like, why? This is The Walking Dead. It's not fucking CW, where you can show the gore. Like, why? And it really pisses me off because Fear the Walking Dead last season was fucking crazy with the gore. Like, remember when that one of the characters got shot in the head? They showed like a little bit piece of the head of that character that was down in her hair where the bullet went. That was fucking brutal. I want some of that in The Walking Dead, not just Fear. Honestly, that's why I'm so much more excited for Fear Season 7 right now than I am for the rest of Season 11 of The Walking Dead. I'll watch it and I'll review it because, I mean, it's the last season. But, frankly, I'm kind of sad. And yeah, I wanted this review to be more of a, oh my god, I love this episode. I'm excited for the rest of the season. But sadly, as I said in the beginning, I watched episode 3. So I'm kind of already spoiled a little bit with my feelings. So I can't really be as excited and happy about how good this episode was. Because I've seen the next one. So yeah, where were we? Oh yeah, Maggie telling her story. Really dark story. I would have preferred to be shown that story instead of being told that story, but it was fine. It did its job. Or at least I think it did, because I feel like with that story they were trying to make show us that Maggie is dark and ruthless now because of the time she had to live outside of the communities. And that kind of justifies what she did to Gage right now, although it really fucking doesn't, because that means that you're not fit to be a leader, Maggie, because you've become more ruthless than even Negan. Because Negan, as bad as he fucking is, he didn't kill people when he didn't have to, and even when he had to, he was very lenient a lot of the time. Because, like, argue whatever you want how bad Negan is and whether he's a rapist or whatever, but he cared about his people. He didn't kill people and didn't harm people that didn't deserve it in some ways. Because, like, Rick attacked his community and massacred tons of saviors, and they suffered only 2 casualties. That was such a lenient response, frankly. Yeah, it was important characters, and it was sad and everything, and they didn't deserve to die, because the saviors that they killed were bad guys, but they got off easy, frankly. Negan always kept people alive, even people he didn't like, because he had a lot of problems with Rick, and probably he would have been better off killing Rick right then and there. But he didn't, because people are a resource, something Maggie doesn't seem to get, apparently, because she ended up essentially killing Gage, and she's fucking adamant to go and fight the Reapers despite the fact that they destroyed her community. And that I feel like there's like 10 other ways that they could get food for Alexandria, other than risking your life fighting a very fucking formidable group that clearly doesn't fuck around. Like, how do you plan to even do that? And that's honestly one of the reasons why I'm somewhat not as invested as I thought I was going to be in the story of this season, because my original thought process about how they were going to go about the story of this season is that maybe, I mean, there's 2 ideas. One, Eugene, Yumiko, Ezekiel, and Princess uh, deal with the Commonwealth for like an episode or two, and then they bring the Commonwealth to Alexandria, and then we have the road to the Commonwealth arc or whatever, in which our guys meet the Reapers and deal with them before we arrived at the Commonwealth. I think that would have been more interesting because we would have our whole community on the road, and it would be the first time we were moving to a different settlement since season 5, so of course that's going to be exciting, and it feels just more justified about why they have to do this and why they have to fight the Reapers, because the Reapers are trying to kill them and our guys are just trying to find and get to a new place to live. Or maybe even something else could have been justified along the lines of like just trying to find a new place to live, like even just the little idea that maybe, like, imagine the Meridian, which is Maggie's community that the Reapers took over, was still standing and we didn't know it was destroyed. It would still would have been much more justified if Maggie came to help our main characters deal with the Whispers, and now that they're dealt with, clearly Alexandria needs supplies and food and stuff, so they're going to embark on a journey to Meridian to get some more supplies for Alexandria, only to find out it taken over by the Reapers. And now it feels more justified about why they have to deal with the Reapers. Because otherwise, with the current setting, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel justified. Why would you go and pick a fight with these people who are clearly fucking batshit insane and are gonna kill you in the worst ways possible? And yeah, you can maybe argue, oh, they're gonna show up anyway. We saw that Reaper guy attack them in episode 17. Well, maybe, but don't you think it's better to set up your defenses maybe, or plan a more coherent attack on the Reapers, instead of just going on a fucking road trip without really any plan about how exactly we're gonna deal with the Reapers? Because if we couldn't deal with the Reapers before, how are Daryl, Negan, and Gabriel coming with you going to help you, really? I don't know. It just feels very contrived because of that. Because I feel like they could have easily made it more justified, but they didn't. But yeah, I'm getting really sidetracked. So we have the Maggie monologue. Also, in that scene, we have some really cool interaction and cool moment by Alden, where he asks everybody why are they not willing to look at Gage, because it's their fault that he's dead. They didn't want to help him. At the very least you can do is look at him. But then comes patronizing Maggie, who tells him that it's not really the worst way to die, there's worse ways. Well, bitch, just because Alden said that that's not the worst way to die doesn't mean he meant literally that that's the worst way to die. He just means that it's a way to die that people shouldn't have to die like that. It's not a fucking competition about which way to die is worse. It's about the fact that no human being should have to kill themselves because you're being a bitch and not willing to help them because they betrayed you. Like, it's so infuriating. That scene really made me, in retrospect, it's really made me hate Maggie even more. And for some reason, even Gabe is on that dumb Maggie train. Because, like, he says that that's just a shell of a man that died a coward. Like, bitch, remember how you started off, you fucking scared ass pussy? Remember when you couldn't deal with the walkers yourself? Have you no fucking self-awareness? Like, Gabe has been on a dark spiral ever since he killed Dante, and I still very much disagree with his decision of killing Maze in 1019. But I don't know. I think that was a very asshole move by Gabe right there. And he was like, when Alden was trying to help Gage, he was like, let it go. Like, what the fuck? Why? I'm just... Why? I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I think this is going to lead to his death, which is gonna be, honestly, frankly, a little bit satisfying. I'm not gonna be sad about his death because he fucking deserves it if he keeps on going in this dark path. So yeah, next we have, I guess, the Commonwealth scenes, which were also pretty fucking entertaining. We had the really cool Yumiko monologue in which she essentially kinda expositions about what the Commonwealth is and more about what they are and what they do. But I'd say it's still probably the best monologue of this episode because it's also kind of about informing us on her character and that she's a really good lawyer who doesn't take shit from anybody. In the way that she calls them out and explains how it's a big community, that these people are just looking essentially are trying to examine whether our group are bad people who are going to be a drain on the resources or going to be helpful to the community. And how apparently the Commonwealth even has a currency of its own, which is kind of interesting, I guess. I just really like that whole scene, and at the end with Mercer showing up with coffee, it really shows that she has earned their respect in a way. I guess that's kind of what the Commonwealth is looking for, because in the beginning of the episode, well, not in the beginning of the episode, but in one of the first Commonwealth scenes of this episode, apparently Ezekiel was gone. And remember what happened with Ezekiel last time he was interrogated? He stood up to them. So I guess maybe they're looking for that. Although, knowing what I know about the Commonwealth from the comics, I don't really get why that would be kind of the requirement about standing up to them, but that seems to be the most common link, I guess, in a way. But yeah, then we have an interesting scene with Princess where she essentially foreshadows her storyline going forward, which is not, I'm not gonna spoil, but it's a nice little foreshadowing. It's also a bit of a funny scene where she can go to the toilet and use toilet paper, and that she gets excited about that. That's kind of funny. But afterwards we have probably my favorite scene in regards to the Commonwealth in this episode, where it feels like the Commonwealth is really fucking with Eugene's mind, because he and Princess waited for quite a while for Yumiko to come out of the office in which they are interrogated, but she never did. Then Princess went to the toilet and one of the Commonwealth soldiers went after her. And then Eugene goes to ask the other soldier about Princess and about Yumiko, and he acts like they don't exist and that they're... I guess it makes it feel like Eugene is losing his mind. And I honestly kind of feel his emotions in that moment, because I'm also a very socially anxious person. Like, if I'm not in a situation that I've been before, or if I cannot really, if I have not kind of practiced about the situation and figure out what I'm going to say and what I'm going to do, I'm also very stressed about the situation. So I feel like I would act the exact same way as Eugene in that scene, about asking about them and these people acting as if I'm like insane and me not knowing what to do and just going back and trying to survive and everything. It's a really, really relatable moment for me, and I really like it, the way they're fucking with his mind. Only for them to later get him to get interrogated, and that's another really cool monologue in this episode, but again, at this point, it really starts to get fucking old with the monologues. But I'd say it's still probably better than Maggie's. I just think Maggie's is the worst one, because it was such a boring story. I hardly paid attention to it, honestly. At first, I had to kind of rewatch it a couple of times. But through the through the Eugene monologue, we learned that apparently he's a virgin. Information that I really didn't need to know about Eugene, but frankly, I can believe that. Although I'm not exactly sure that it's correct. I don't really believe that it's the truth. I feel like he said it only because he was supposed to lie in that scene, and he actually did something that I have done whenever I've been lying, that I call half-truth lying, which is essentially whenever you're lying, you should tell at least part of the truth, because that for some reason really makes the lies believable. Like, so far, anytime that I've lied to anybody, especially in the last like few years or whatever, I've always told at least part of the truth, and they've always bought it. You know? And in this episode, essentially, that's what Eugene does, because he tells the truth about the connection that he made with Stephanie, and the reason why he started talking to the radio, but he doesn't tell the fact that they are from a big community, and that I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. He doesn't tell them that he's from a big community, or lies to them that he's not, apparently. So yeah, that was a really nice scene, especially afterwards, when he is reunited with Ezekiel and Princess and Yumiko. And it's kind of funny how they're just calm and sitting in chairs while Eugene is fucking losing his mind about either them being dead or maybe even him dying. It's kind of funny, and it's very cathartic for him to have a little bit of a laugh seeing that they're all okay and they're just fine. And then we have the introduction, the moment where Mercer tells them that they've been accepted to the Commonwealth, and that they're gonna get escorted to the Commonwealth by a beat cop. I really like that interaction between Mercer and Ezekiel. It's interesting because it's not something from the comics, as far as I know, because Ezekiel doesn't really make it, spoiler alert, to the Commonwealth. So that's kind of like a wholly show original interaction. But I'm curious where they're going to take that. Maybe they've taken that interaction from some other characters, which is very much possible. But it's still very entertaining, and I really liked it. So yeah, I guess we should go a little bit back before we go to the end of the episode, but we are pretty much at the end of the review of the episode. We have Daryl going back to when Daryl saves the gang from the train. The sequence in which Daryl goes and shoots a bunch of zombies is actually pretty badass. Like, I really like it. I really like how it's shot, and I really like what Daryl does, because, like, how many times have we even seen Daryl shoot a gun? Have we even ever seen him shoot, like, a handgun, I'm talking about? I guess we have, because he did kill that one red shirt in Season 8, Episode 3, after he killed Morales. That's pretty much the last character that I can think of him killing with a gun. But maybe he has killed other characters with guns as well. But it was pretty cool because of that. Although, again, that plays I have some issues with the scenes which play into what I said earlier, where I'm just annoyed at this point that all the cool scenes are given to Daryl, and it also feels a little contrived. The music that they use in that scene feels really little fucking contrived, because if you didn't catch it, they kind of played a remix of the Walking Dead theme in that scene to make it more epic, and it really feels fucking weird, because yeah, it's a cool scene, but it's not really a scene that fucking warrants the using of the theme song. Like, the last time they used the theme song was, I think, maybe in Michonne's last episode when she left. I think it deserves to be used there. They also used it in Rick's last episode. Again, makes fucking sense to use it in those two episodes, but Why would you use it in a random ass episode in which just a bunch of walkers are killed in a badass way? It really feels unjustified. Like, at least maybe if I was a little bit more invested in the story and it felt like the story was impactful and it mattered, I feel like it would have earned the use of that music, but right now it feels just kind of forced in a way a little bit. It's a good piece of music and it definitely enhances the scene, but it also feels forced as fuck. And they couldn't even give some other characters the grenade. No, they had to have Dario shoot these bunch of walkers, then stab a bunch of walkers, and then shove a grenade in a walker's mouth. Like, you couldn't have had one other character do one of those things. No, Dario has to do all the badass shit. Oh, come on, it would be fine if we were not gonna have Dario and Carol for God knows how many more seasons in their own spin-off doing badass shit, but like, why don't you give some other characters some cool shit to do, for fuck's sake? Like, we're gonna have Dario and Carol do badass shit in their spin-off. I think it's fine if you give some other characters some badass shit to do in the final season of the fucking show, because, like, realistically, when are we going to see Aaron, Alden, Magna, Rosita ever again? When are we gonna see those characters ever again? Probably never. After the main show ends, probably never. At best, maybe once in like a Tales of the Walking Dead episode or something. But we're probably never gonna see them again. So why don't you make cool shit happen with them? Why does Dario have to do everything? And I don't want to turn this into a Dario rant, nor do I want to turn this review into a hate train for this episode and for The Walking Dead, because I'm loving The Walking Dead. I enjoyed first episode, I enjoyed this episode a lot, and I still enjoyed episode 3 a lot. But like, I'm really starting to get frustrated with certain things, and I just have to voice it, I guess. But yeah, then we have the ending of the episode, which is actually pretty fucking badass because it really came out of nowhere and it was really brutal. Like, seeing those people hanging from the, I mean, I don't know what to say, it wasn't crosses, but from the pillars with their heads down, that was really fucking badass and brutal looking and scary. And then having a bunch of our characters get shot out of nowhere, like Roy, who is played by a famous actor and producer or whatever, C. Thomas Howell, getting killed in that scene, that was cool. And even Cole losing his hand, that was really brutal, but just, that whole scene just kind of came out of nowhere, and it was really fucking cool. And I wish episode 3 lived up to that scene. And in some ways, it did. In a lot of ways, it did, actually. But it still didn't continue my hype, I would say. That's kind of your only spoiler that I'm going to give for the next episode. You're going to have to watch the other video for a review of that episode. But yeah, overall, this was actually a really, really entertaining episode. And at this point, I think I can safely say my ratings for these two episodes. For me, Acheron Part 1 is 8.1 out of 10. 8.3 at most. But I'd say 8.1 out of 10. It has cool moments, but it feels dragged out a little bit. Acheron Part 2, peak Walking Dead, frankly. Really, really entertaining. Lots of cool, brutal, and dark moments. Really cool character parallels and character moments. All in all, a 9.4 out of 10, which on average makes it about an 8.8 out of 10, I guess, which I think is fair. I feel like, as they are, these two episodes, ultimately the story of these two episodes, the way it is an 8.8 out of 10. I feel like it could have been like a 9.8 out of 10 if this was like one episode, but as it stands, yeah, it's ultimately an 8.8 kind of story. But I did really enjoy this episode, and I fully think it deserves like a 9.4 out of 10 rating. But yeah, before we end this video, I just want to give a huge thanks to my first two Patreons on Patreon, Mari Bridgman and White Shadow Wolfie. huge thanks to you guys for supporting me on Patreon. I really appreciate it. And for any of you other guys who want to join my Patreon and support me, you can do that by going down in the description and clicking on the link to my Patreon and joining any one of the tiers. There isn't really a specific tier for Walking Dead content because pretty much everything that you might be interested in as a Walking Dead fan is, I guess, posted on YouTube, because all my reviews are free on YouTube, all my Walking Dead gaming videos are free on YouTube, so there isn't really anything specific you get as a Walking Dead fan on my Patreon, but maybe you might be interested in some of the other perks that are available over there, or maybe you just want to support me, for which there's also a tier. The lowest one is exactly for that. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, subscribe. Also, check out in the description to my Twitter if you want to follow me over there, and to my Wattpad where I post my stories, because in addition to doing all these videos for my channel, I'm also a writer. And if you enjoy my stories, or you simply enjoy my videos, you can head over to Patreon where you can pledge your support and help get the channel going, help support me so I can keep writing the stories you enjoy. But if you don't want to do it, that's completely fine. You can still help me out in other ways, like liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and especially sharing this video with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And I think that's pretty much it for this video, so hopefully I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye!